homie.
As we work our way through December and the year starts to draw to a close, it's time to talk about the top world-level open strongmen for 2021. So I've compiled a whole lot of data throughout the year, but shout out to Eloi Fournier, my buddy over at Strongman Archives, who helped to fill in the gaps with his incredible website. You should go check it out, and you should donate while you're there. He's giving so much incredible information that helped me fill in the gaps here. So you can see here all the data. I have 3,500 rows here. If I scroll down, you can see everybody. And basically what we did for this particular video, now I'm going to make another one for the best strong women of 2021 and another one for the best strongmen who aren't at the World Open level, like immediately jumps to mind Nick Camby, for example. So OSG is his World Championships. There is no Giants Live path for him, but he deserves his own video. So we're going to do another video. Hopefully I can make the time to do that to include people that are not at the World Open level, but that's the focus of this particular video. So how did guys qualify to make it into this video? Well, you had to compete at what I consider a world level competition. World's Strongest Man, Giants Live Strongman Classic, things like that, right? Siberian Power Show, things like that. And so if we look at my reference guide here, we'll give you a quick insight into how I calculated this. So some guys, to qualify, that's how you make it on the list. But some of those guys competed at not world level competitions like Britain's or UK's or things like that. So I included those performances as well, but I had to multiply them down a little bit because they weren't world caliber competition. Maybe some were and some weren't. So this is the reference data. If you were at a world competition, you get a 1. You get 100% of the points earned over points possible percentage that you earned for that event. And again, the way I break that down is right here. You have the person, the contest, what level competition it is, the event, the points earned out of the points possible. You get a percentage, and then your multiplier to equilibrate it to a world performance gets applied and brings it down to this adjusted number. So that should give you an idea of all the mathematics and the inner workings that no other YouTuber is likely to show you on how they come up with the top strongmen of 2021 that I am indeed very happy to show you because it puts so much work into it. So going back over to the reference table, you can see an international competition, which would be like OSG, for example, would give you 5% off, so 0.95 of the points earned over points possible. A continental like Europe's Strongest Man would give you 90% of your ratings points. A regional like Middle East Strongest Man would give you 85%. National would give you 80%, like America's Strongest Man or Canada's Strongest Man. Gabriel Rayom is a good example there. So he competed in a world level competition, the Shaw Classic, but then also Canada's, which is a national level. So I had to use a multiplier to equal out the points. So that's how the equilibrating multipliers work. Then we had to add a little extra boost or reward for those who made podiums or won shows or even set world records, and you see those down here. So if you place third in a contest, you get a point added on all the way at the end when I show you the final rankings. 2 points for second place in a contest, 3 points for first, and 3 for a world record. So those get applied at the very end. So what we're going to do is first, I'm going to show you the breakdown of each of the contests and the events within them and how we came up with that adjusted strength rating for each of our competitors. And then once we see that, at the very end, we'll go over to the ratings, the rankings. There are 51 guys, and I'll show you how they rank. So starting off at the bottom of the list, we have Luke Richardson, who competed only at World's Strongest Man and only did the loading race, so a 20 rating for him. He unfortunately didn't have a body of work enough to compile a higher rating than that. We move on up the list, and Anthony Deal, who I believe is a middleweight, competed open weight at the Siberian Power Show, a 21.79 rating for him. Dmitry Lagunov competed at Siberian Power Show as well, a 23.08 rating for him. Next is Tiago Aparecido, and he competed both at Siberian Power Show and Forza Bruta. One was a world-level competition, one I would consider an international, like a little bit of a step down. 25.09 rating for Tiago. Next on the list, we have Johnny Hansen, who competed at Europe's Strongest Man and at World's Strongest Man this year, so a 31.9 rating for Johnny Hansen. So here is where I'm looking. And you can see he started off with 33, and with the Continental multiplier was multiplied down, and that's kind of how you come up with 31.9. For World's Strongest Man, he had 44, and that was left alone because it's a world-level competition. We move on up, and Ivan Makarov competed at the Giants Live World Open this year, so a 35 rating for him. The deadlifting specialist moved into a full suite of events, and that was awesome to see. The next one up on the list is Jerry Pritchett, so he comes away with a 35.23 rating. He competed at the Shaw Classic, World's Strongest Man, and the Rogue Invitational, where he was unfortunately a bit injured and not at his best. Another deadlifting specialist who moved into a full suite of events was Nedzmin and Beskovich, and he comes away with a 38 rating there, competing at the Arnold's UK. Now we start to see a competitor with a bunch of Strongman Champions League competitions in 2021, and you'll see it says overall show, and that's just because Strongman Archives doesn't have event-by-event breakdowns for a lot of the Strongman Champions League shows. I'm guessing they're just not available, or else he would have them there, and so I had to come up with an overall show way to set in the point scheme into my normal scheme, and I was able to do that successfully. So let's see who this is. He was also at the Magnus Ver Magnuson Classic, WUS Strength Island, WUS Dubai, World's Strongest Man, Marjampol International, Europe's Strongest Man. He's Irvin Toit, so Irvin comes away with a 40.18 rating. For those of you always tuning in to see my detailed analysis and my spreadsheets and love what you're watching and want access to them yourselves, I do offer that now as part of my YouTube channel membership level 2. So you can go over to my YouTube channel, click the join button as you see here, and then I have 3 different levels. So level 1 gets you all kinds of customized badges, and then you get custom emojis to use on live streams. You get member shoutouts every month. That's members only community posts, a whole bunch of different behind the scenes stuff and all, just in level 1. At an extremely reasonable price. Level 2 gets you access to all my Strongman analytics spreadsheets, everything I ever create or ever will create. I add links to that in the membership community for that, and then you can be a live guest on my show as well. Just wanted to let you know that memberships are available at extremely reasonable prices, and you can help support the channel that way as well. Now on to today's content. Next on the list, he competed at Siberian Power Show and Russia's Strongest Man. He is Ramil Ramazanov, and he comes away with a 40.63 rating. The WUS Strength Island and WUS Dubai competitor Ramin Farajnahad comes away with a 40.67 rating in 2021. Then we have the Shaw Classic, Giants Live World Tour Finals, and World Open competitor, maybe one of my favorite interviews ever. Check that one out if you haven't yet on my channel. He's Gabriel Pena, the Texas Titan, and he comes away with a 41.21 rating. Alexander Kuzmin competed in the Siberian Power Show and comes away with 43.59 adjusted rating after we do the multipliers. And then we have a Forza Bruta Rogue Invitational, World's Ultimate Strongman Strength Island, World's Strongest Man Shaw Classic, and Giants Live World Open competitor, and that is fan favorite Mikhail Shivlikov, who always gives an incredible effort. He unfortunately had some injuries this year, a 43.66 rating for him. Then Rob Kearney had his return this year, and I was very excited to see him. He was at WUS Strength Island and then returned at the Rogue Invitational after some health issues that he was working through. And for Rogue, I had predicted Rob to be placed a lot higher than basically anybody else did, and I want my apologies. My predictions were a lot closer than all of yours. So, yeah, happy to see Rob did. He didn't do fantastic, but he did better than some thought he would coming back from a layoff. So 43.67 for Rob Kearney. Next up on the list is Pau Dwyer, another fan favorite who is a great character and incredible competitor, a 43.96 rating for Pa. He competed a lot. He was at Europe's, UK's, Britain's, Arnold UK, Giants Live Strongman Classic, so Pa competed quite a bit this year. Next on the list, we have a World's Strongest Man competitor, Giants Live World Tour Finals, Strongman Classic, Arnold UK and Britain's, and that's the ageless wonder Mark Felix. And again, you can see here which of the shows in 2021 were regional versus world, what the show was, and how the event-by-event breakdown happened for points earned over points possible, giving him that particular rating for that event. 44.05 for Mark Felix. Next on the list, we have, moving on up, Gavin Biltons, who also competed quite a lot this year, 44.56 for Gavin. He was at Europe's, UK's, Giants Live Strongman Classic, the World Open, the World Tour Finals, and World's Strongest Man. So Gav Bilton with a 44.56 rating. Then we have your favorite, my favorite, maybe everybody in Strongman's favorite Strongman, Lawrence Shahlet, who we affectionately call Big Laws. And he competed after a comeback this year in the Giants Live Strongman Classic. made everyone just as excited as just about any other competitor did. It was incredible to watch him compete. He says he's not competing anymore. I think I could speak for everybody in the audience when we say we all wish he would. It was incredible to watch Big Laz compete. So a 45.45 rating for Big Laz in 2021. Mohamed Estapur in 2021 rated 46.67 on my blog Strongest Algorithm, so he was at AWESEOME Dubai and Strength Island. We then have a competitor who was at the Giants Live World Tour Finals, the World Open, the Arnold UK, Britain's UK's strongest man, and that's Andy Black. So Andy Black came away with a 47.14 rating this year, and so Andy competed quite a bit. Can't wait to see him more in 2022. We then have Canada's strongest man, who was also at the Shaw Classic. Can anybody guess based on that evidence who it is? It's Gabriel Rayom for sure. So 48.24 rating for Gabriel Rayom. He did better at Canada's than he did at the more world-level competition that was the Shaw Classic, but looking forward to great improvement from Gabriel in the future. Forza Bruta competitor was Strength Island, was Dubai, Siberian Power Show, Giants Live World Open, and Europe's strongest man. That's Rauno Hainla, and Rauno comes away with a 49.84 rating for 2021. We then have Chris van der Linde, who was at Africa's Strongest Man very recently, finishing 4th there, I believe, and at World's Strongest Man this year for the first time, so we look forward to many more visits at Worlds for him. He also did a great interview with me. If you haven't caught that one, you should catch that one. It's really worth your time. So Chris, 51.38. We then have a Shaw Classic competitor who was also at Britain's and Europe's Strongest Man, and that is Graham Hicks. So Graham Hicks was injured at the Shaw Classic, and that's why you kind of see the anomaly of him doing a bit more poorly there than he did in the other two shows at these numbers here. But overall, Graham Hicks, a 51.44 rating, taking all those into consideration. You may remember that during the year I did a prediction based on his dumbbell press at the Shaw Classic, which he characterized as unfair because he was injured there, and I ended up agreeing and redoing the predictions. But as a retrospective, so you can't predict maybe based on an injury, because the competitor may show up without that injury, but looking back on the year that was, you have to include everything that happened, and that's why I threw the Shaw Classic back in here. 51.44 for Graham Hicks. Vladimir Bulgakov competed at Siberian Power Show and Russia's Strongest Man, and he comes away with a 55.94 rating. We then have WUS, Strength Island, and Dubai, as well as World's Strongest Man and Shaw Classic competitor, one of the favorite U.S. competitors of all of us, and another incredible interview, an insightful interview about the inner workings of World's Strongest Man on my channel. Bobby Thompson, go check that one out if you haven't yet. He comes away with a 57.45 rating. We then have the WUS Strength Island World's Strongest Man, Shaw Classic World Tour Finals, World Open Strongman Classic, Britain's Strongest Man, Europe's Strongest Man competitor. Is this Luke Stoltman? No, Adam Bishop. So Adam Bishop competed, I think it was 8 times in 2021. It started to wear on him toward the end of the year, but really incredible to watch him compete, and looking forward to more from the 57.53 rated Adam Bishop in 2022. We then have the competitor from the Magnus Vera Magnuson Strongman Classic. Again, one of my favorite shows of the entire year because they're pressing stones, which is my favorite event, and just using kind of the elements around them to see really who's the toughest. So I really enjoyed that particular show. He was also in WUS Strength Island and World's Strongest Man, and that's Eyþór Melstead. So Eyþór did Strongest Man in Iceland and Iceland's Strongest Man, so both organizations, and he comes away with a 58.52 rating. Another reminder that he actually won and had second place in shows, so those will be tacked on at the end to that rating. This man was also at quite a few Strongman Champions League shows, Siberian Power Show and Marijampol International, and that is Dana Zagiris, who comes away with a 59.87 rating. I'm getting more and more interested to watch him compete. I see stats, but I haven't watched video, and I'd like to. So the official Strongman Games, America's Strongest Man and Siberian Power Show competitor, this has got to be Wesley Claiborne. Yes, it is. 59.89 rating for Wesley, and he had a great year, and we always, those of us in the U.S. have a bit of a bias, but we love seeing Wesley compete and would love to see him at Worlds one day. Rogue Invitational, WUS Strength Island, and World's Strongest Man, World Tour Final, Strongman Classic Arnold UK competitor, and Britain's. Is this one Luke? Luke Stoltman comes away with a 60.30 rating. So moving on up the list, we have a gentleman who was at AWESEOME Dubai, World's Strongest Man, Siberian Power Show, the Shaw Classic. It's Konstantin Janasha, and he actually struggled through some injuries at the Shaw Classic, fought through like a real trooper, and a 60.86 rating for Constantine. Another gentleman who competed at various Strongman Champions League competitions, World's Strongest Man and Siberian Power Show. One of my favorites of all strongmen, actually, and that's Travis Ortmeyer. He's been so kind and giving to my channel, spending his time sharing his insights. He's the best storyteller in strongman. And Travis, so happy to see you this high up on the list. 62.25. Can't wait to see what Travis does in 2022. The next gentleman up also competed in several Strongman Champions League competitions, was Strength Island and Dubai, World's Strongest Man, the Shaw Classic, the Giants Live Strongman Classic, Pasaulio Taure, and that is Ivar Schmockstellis, and he podiumed several times this year also, so this 62.98 rating will bump up significantly when we see the final standings. The next man up on the list, who competed at the Magnus Verb Magnuson Strongman Classic, World's Strongest Man in the Shaw Classic, the Giants Live World Tour Finals, and that's none other than Maxime Boudreau, who had a breakout year in 2021, podiuming World's Strongest Man, and then winning one of my favorite shows, the Magnus Verb Magnuson Strongman Classic. We then have Pavlo Nakonechny, who had a little bit of static with Alexei Novikov at a Giants Live show, but had a good showing for himself competition-wise at the Middle East Strongest Man and the Giants Live World Open. He's proven that he belongs among the world's best. A rating of 63.89 for Pablo. We then have Robert Oberst. So Robert Oberst competed, as far as I'm aware, only at World's Strongest Man this year. Rated 64 on the strength rating. If you take each event by event, points earned divided by the points possible, 64 for Robert Oberst. Next up on the list, we have a World's Strongest Man and Shaw Classic competitor. Also the Giants Live World Tour Finals, where, if I remember correctly, set a new Denny Stone walk world record, and that was awesome to watch. That's Kevin Ferris. His rating 65.21. We then have David Shamey, who appeared at the Siberian Power Show. He rated 65.38. Next up on our list, competing in a variety of different WUS, World's Strongest Man, and Giants Live competitions, including the Arnold's UK, the World's Strongest Man for 2021, he is Tom Stoltman. So his rating 68.02. So you ask yourself, why isn't the rating for the World's Strongest Man higher? Well, he did do very well at World's Strongest Man and at Britain's Strongest Man, but Britain's is a regional in terms of several country contest, and that had to be subjected to the multiplier, which brought the score down. And then Arnold UK, he really didn't do well in at all. At the Strongman Classic, he was subpar as well. So, yes, he really got himself up for the World's Strongest Man, but a little inconsistent in some of the other shows. That's how you get that rating. We then have a Rogue Invitational, WUS Strength Island and Dubai, a World's Strongest Man, Shaw Classic and Arnold K competitor, and that is the perennial problem for everybody who's competing against, and that is JF Caron. He comes away with a 69.5 rating. JF, always problems for everybody who's competing against, especially if there's a deadlift involved. We then have Terry Hollins, who only competed in 2 events at World's Strongest Man and then retired from World's Strongest Man competition after that. I didn't want to take him out of the list because he did well in those 2 events, so a 70 rating for Terry Hollins. We then have another Rogue Invitational competitor, also at World's Strongest Man in the Shaw Classic, and that is the man himself, 4-time World's Strongest Man legendary Brian Shaw. So he ended up coming in second at his namesake Shaw Classic and second at the World's Strongest Man. So Brian Shaw comes in with a hefty 72.15 rating here. And remember, he set a keg for height world record as well this year. That will bump this number up as well. The next competitor was at Baltic Strongest Man, where he won it, and at the Shaw Classic, where he did a little better than so-so. But for someone who's not actively competing at the highest level, did very well this year, and that is Big Z, the legend, the GOAT, Zydrunas Savickas. 72.22 rating for him. We then have Trey Mitchell, who had an incredible year. So Trey Mitchell competed at the Arnold UK, the Shaw Classic, which he won, World's Strongest Man, and then won Texas Strongest Man also this year, if I remember correctly. So Trey's rating, an already high 72.84 here, will be bumped up even more for those wins. We then have the next man up the list, who was at Giants Live World Open, the World Tour Finals, the Shaw Classic, World's Strongest Man, the Strongman Classic, Arnold UK. He was winning everything that moved this year, and that is Evan Singleton. Not only a great character for the sport, but an incredible competitor. Had a little bit of a down competition at World's Strongest Man due to illness, but proved soon after that at other competitions that he is a force to be reckoned with and only improving as time goes on. 73 rating for Evan Singleton. And we're making our way toward the top of the list now. So we have Mateusz Kieliszkowski, and he competed at World's Ultimate Strongman Dubai and the Rogue Invitational. Did relatively well in both of them, better at WUS Dubai. He comes away with a 74 rating, again, with the methodology of taking the earned points out of the possible points. So we want to establish strongman dominance, not only winning events or winning competitions, which we do include those things in the algorithm, but how much of the collection of available points did you take away from other people to establish dominance? Next up on the list, we had Russia's Strongest Man, Siberian Power Show, and Middle East Strongest Man competitor, and he is Evgeny Markov. He got people's attention this year for folks that didn't know who he was. Did very well in just about everything he competed in. He won Middle East Strongest Man over Pavlo Kordiaka, who came in second and ended up winning OSG himself this year, so great back and forth there, but a 77.88 rating for Evgeny Markov. We then have another Rogue competitor, World's Ultimate Strongman Strength Island in Dubai competitor, World's Strongest Man, Giants Live World Open, and the Strongman Classic, Arnold UK, and Europe's Strongest Man, a very, very busy former World's Strongest Man champion, and that is Alexei Novikov, who comes away with a 79.14 rating. The picture of consistency this year. Incredible to watch how many podiums he made, which I believe he made 7 podiums out of 8 competitions. World's Strongest Man was the only one because he didn't make the finals, didn't have a chance to make the podium, but made a podium in every other competition. Just blows the mind. Then next up, we have Iron Bibi Cheksanu. So he took part in Giants Live Strongman Classic, where he did exceptionally well, won the Hercules hold, had the axle press for max world record there that he set. Then as a part of the Europe's Strongest Man, sort of later on at a later date, because of his personal circumstances with his father's passing, did the log press for max world record as well. So an incredible year. He came in third at that Strongman Classic as well without even doing the Atlas Stone. So sheer dominance from Iron Bibi. He didn't do as many competitions as some of the other guys did. And again, that will come into play when we add in the sort of extra rewards at the end of where I show you the rankings. But he gets extra rewards for world records in the ranking as well. So we'll see how that plays out. And then we have at the very top in the adjusted rating before we add in any of the rewards is Martins Licis. So Martins Licis came out of a long layoff. He had that accident where he was hit by a car and just several circumstances, and comes back and wins his first show back, the Rogue Invitational, which wasn't an easy show by any means. The competition and the implements were difficult, and he ends up winning that show. He beats the current World's Strongest Man, Tom Stoltman, at that show, and beats him at his best event, a stone load. Martins Licis can't get enough accolades for what he did this year in 2021, and I can't wait to see what he does in 2022. So that's how everybody's breakout of competitions and events and ratings for all of those events happened in 2021. Let's see, after we add those extra rewards for podium finishes and world records, where we end up in the final rankings. All right, so as you see here, we have the rating from our previous sheet, and then rewards for winning a competition, coming in second, coming in third, or setting a world record. As we mentioned earlier, winning a competition gets you 3 extra points on the rating here. Second place gets you 2, third gets you 1, and a world record gets you 3 as well. And of course, you'll see in some of these situations you had guys who had multiple second places, multiple wins, and we added them in accordingly. So Luke Richardson, 20 rating, remains that way, no adjustments. In 51st place is Anthony Deal, 21.79. Number 50, Dmitry Lagunov, 23.08. Number 49, Tiago Aparecido at 25.09. Number 48 is Johnny Hansen at 31.90 rating. Number 47, Ivan Makarov at a 35 rating. 46 is Jerry Pritchett at 35.23. 45 is Nedzmin Beskovic at 38. 44 is Ramin Farajnahad at a rating of 40.67. Gabriel Pena comes at number 43 with a 41.21 rating. Number 42, Ramil Ramazanov with a 41.63 rating. He gets rewarded for a third place finish in 2021, so his rating gets bumped up a bit. And Irvin Toitz has a rating of 42.18. He got the second place finish this year, which was at SCL Portugal, so he ends up getting a bump up to 42.18. Alexander Kuzmin in 40th place with a 43.59 rating. Number 39 is Rob Kearney. He comes away with a 43.67 rating. Pao Dwyer comes away with a 43.96 rating. Mark Felix, the ageless wonder, comes away with a 44.05 rating. In 36th place, the returning Lawrence Shahley, Big Laz, with a 45.45 rating, beats in his rating some active guys here. So big shout out to Big Laz for what you did for us in 2021. The fans appreciate it. Number 35, Mikhail Shivlyakov, who comes away with a 46.66 rating. So he got this bump here for winning a competition. Mohamed Estapor comes away with a 46.67 rating. He is number 34 on our list. Number 33 on the list is Gavin Bilton. So he also had a win. I believe it was UK's strongest man. So he gets an extra 3 points on his rating, bringing him to 47.56. Number 32 on our list is Andy Black, who had a third place finish this year, bumping him up to 48.14. Gabriel Rayom won Canada's strongest man, so his 48.24 gets bumped up by these 3 additional winner points to 51.24, putting him in 31st place. Number 30 on the list is Chris van der Linde, who comes away with a 51.38 rating. Number 29 is Rauno Hainla, who comes away with a 51.84 rating. He gets bumped up for a second place finish that he had this year. Graham Hicks, who had a 51.44 rating, gets bumped up for his 2 third place finishes. As you can see, it's 2 points, but up in my calculation, it's 1 plus 1, meaning he got third place 2 separate times, so got his 2 extra points. 53.44 for Graham Hicks. Number 27 on our list is Bobby Thompson, who comes away with a 57.45 rating. Number 26 on our list, Vladimir Bulgakov, who comes away with a 57.94 after getting a bump up of 2 points for second place finish this year in one of his competitions. Wes Claiborne had a third place finish this year and gets an extra point, bringing him up to 60.89, number 25 on our list. 24 on our list is Adam Bishop, who competed quite a lot this year, had 2 second place finishes for 4 extra points, bringing his rating up to 61.53. Number 23 on our list is Konstantin Janasha, who gets a winner's award for winning, I think it was Siberian Power Show, and so he's up to 63.86. Number 22 on the list, Pavlo Nakonechny, comes away with a rating of 63.89. Number 21 on our list is Robert Oberst, who comes away with a 64 rating. Number 20, Travis Ortmeyer, who gets a winner's reward for SCL Portugal, bringing him up to 65.25, and number 20 on our list of top open world strongmen of 2021. Number 19, David Shamey, who comes away with 65.38. 18 is Athor Melstead, who had a 65.52 rating, so he had 2 separate second place finishes and a first place finish this year, so that bumps him up to 65.52. Number 17, Dennis Agaris, who had 2 first place finishes this year. I think they were both SCLs, if I'm not mistaken, and that bumps him up 6 more points to 65.87, just barely edging out Athor and David. And Travis. Luke Stoltman comes in number 16, so Luke gets credit for 2 wins this season, or this year. So an extra 6 points to Luke, bringing him up to 66.3, number 16 on our list. 15 on our list is Maxime Boudreau, who had the win at the Magnus Ver Magnuson Strongman Classic and the third place finish at Worlds, bringing him up to 67.37. 14 on our list is Kevin Ferris, who gets 3 extra points for his world record Dinny Stone run, bringing him up to 68.21. 13th place is Terry Hollins at 70. 12th place is JF Carone, who gets 69.5 points plus a second place finish and a third place finish, this year, bringing him up to 72.5. Ivar Schmuckstellis comes in the 11th place position with a 72.98 rating. He had quite a lot of extra points, so he had 2 separate wins this season, giving him 6 extra points, a second-place finish for 2 points, and 2 third-place finishes for another 2 points. So that's a total of 2, 3, 4, 5 podiums that Ivar Schmuckstellis hit. I think only one man who we haven't gotten to yet hit more podiums than that. And now we're at our top 10 of the best, most dominant strongmen in the open world division of 2021. Number 10. Zydrunas Savickas, the GOAT, Big Z, comes away with a 75.22 rating after getting a winner's reward for the Baltic Strongest Man that he won. Number 9. Mateusz Kieliszkowski, who comes away with a 76 rating after getting a bump up for his second place finish this year. And I think that was Wus Dubai. Number 8. And this is arguable. He could be 8 or 7 depending on whether you count Trey Mitchell's Texas win as a win, since it wasn't a world or international level win. But Tom Stoltman, the current world's strongest man, coming in 8th place. He gets rewarded 6 extra points for his 2 wins this year. World's Strongest Man and Britain's, I think it was. And then second place, he had 2 second place finishes this year too, as well, so another 4 points there. 78.02 for Tom. Brian Shaw comes in at 79.15, so he's in the 7th position. His rating gets bumped up for his two second place finishes, Worlds and the Shaw Classic, and his world record that he set on the keg toss for height. He gets 3 points for that, 79.15 for Brian Shaw. 6th place is Trey Mitchell, and this is where I mentioned it matters whether you count the Texas Strongest Man win or not. I count it, so that's why I have Trey in 6th and Tom in 8th, or else Tom, I believe, would have edged out Brian. But 6th place for Trey Mitchell, 79.84. He gets 2 wins, so 3 plus 3 for his 2 wins, and 1 for his 3rd place finish. His other win was the Shaw Classic, by the way. 5th place goes to the dominant Evan Singleton. So Evan had 2 wins this season, a 2nd place finish and a 3rd place finish for 4 podiums for Evan Singleton. A remarkable 82 points for him. 4th place is Evgeny Markov, who comes away with a rating of 83.88. He had 2 wins this year, a 2nd place finish, and that brings him up to 83.88. He dominated points earned out of points possible in almost every event he was in. It was unbelievable. So here are your top 3 top World Open Strongmen of 2021. Drum roll, please. Number 3, Martins Licis, coming back from a big layoff to win the Rogue Invitational. His rating of 90 gets bumped up for that win by 3 more points, and his rating is 93. The number 2 position on our list, Csikszentmihalyi Iron Bibi. So Iron Bibi had a rating of 86.18, which was actually lower than Martins, but he gets a point for coming in 3rd at the Strongman Classic, and 6 points for 2 world records. You can't discount those. So 93.18 for Iron Bibi. And that leaves us with our winner, the best strongman in the open heavyweight division of the world for 2021 is none other than Alexei Novikov. So Alexei, a 79.14 rating, which would have put him in 4th place, but 3 wins. He gets 9 points for 3 wins in 2021. He had 2 second place finishes. He gets 4 points there. He had 2 third place finishes. So that's 7 podiums, ladies and gentlemen. 7 podiums out of 8 contests in 2021. And then he had a world record in frame carry as well. So we had 3 more points there, bringing him up to 97.14. Your best strongman in the World Open division of 2021 is none other than Alexei Novikov. If you have any other counter-arguments to any of these, join me this coming Monday night where we compare and contrast, and professionally and politely discuss our potentially differing opinions on these things. And of course, until then, ciao, homie.